people drink more because they're depressed, and I can have a successful business.
Well, there is a thing that says that like when we go into like a recession or something, the two things that go up is alcohol and entertainment.
Makes sense because everyone's miserable and depressed.
Oh, somebody filled this from a cell phone. Is it in the middle of the?
Yep.
It's in the middle of the street.
3-on-1.
So that went on for a long time, and nothing happened.
That's the kid that died right there. The one on top.
So it goes on that long, and the kid has time to go get a knife and come back.
That's straight up murder.
But
it's
what was the response time? There's a cop at the school, isn't there? That's the crosshair.
Here, put your headphones on.
But I mean,
sorry.
Cop might not have seen that.
Yeah, no, I know, but like,
yeah, but he might go.
It was 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Oh, was that quick? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like 20 minutes later.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought he had time.
Oh, fuck! I didn't know that.
So that's the thing. It's like this isn't just like
you can put your ears on, man.
It wasn't just like some scumbag kid just out of nowhere killed somebody. Like they jumped him. Like that doesn't excuse murder, but like Jesus, fucking like
I didn't know that. I didn't know
it's
that
a shit
kid
show.
died.
Yeah, he died.
Did
Bled out before getting to the hospital. Died.
Was that in the paper this morning? That he died?
It was news last night.
Yeah, it was everywhere. Like parents have been all over Facebook. My kid's not going to school for the rest. My kid's not going to school for the rest of the year. Parents, I'm done. Kid's going virtual. I'll get his assignments. And teachers are the same. Like my wife said, nobody was in school today.
Yeah, I heard the same.
Yeah, nobody went to. Who's going to want to go to school when that's the environment? When teachers get suspended for intervening in fights and not the kids.
Yeah, can you talk about that real quick? What happened?
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're always going, Tom.
Oh, well,
we're nuts.
Why don't
you want
we
to answer your phone first?
I don't. It's probably a potential babysitter though.
Can we hear this on the podcast? We can hear what you chart, what your rates are, what you're looking for in someone you're going to entrust with your children.
Yeah.
Do you come with references?
Don't you do an intro or something? I feel like we're already into this. I feel like
not on this one.
Everything's a soft open.
Yeah,
okay, soft open. All right. So now I got to
because we were just talking outside and I didn't know any of this because either I'm ignorant or I'm stupid.
Yeah,
but when I read the paper this morning, I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah,
that kid died.
So for the people listening at home, we'll frame it. Mark and Mike asked me to come talk about education. Then yesterday there was a stabbing. Unfortunately, a young Scrantonian lost his life. Kid who went to Scranton High School, and there's just a lot. People have been warning that this was what was about to happen. I mean, we were talking about it outside before, but for people listening, there were teachers who went to the last school board meeting to protest functionally the complete and utter lack of discipline or consequences, the lack of control, the Wild West feel of our buildings now. And there are a lot of things contributing to this socially, and also in terms of what's going on, with the way that the district handles disciplinary issues. So the teachers have been going. There was a letter to the editor that said, when are people going to act? Are they going to wait for somebody to get hurt first? And now we have a dead child on our hands. Now you can't blame the district entirely, but if you create a culture where kids can behave like this without consequence, then they don't understand and that consequence exists, and then they move that behavior outside the bounds of school.
We're supposed to be the adults that teach them where the line is.
Yeah, and so the big thing that has had people, especially in West Scranton, upset is about 2 months ago now, a boy was chasing a girl down the hallway in West Intermediate. Teacher intervened, got in the middle. The kid elbows the teacher. Teacher pushes the kid away.
Male teacher.
And the teacher got suspended, not the kid. And the kid was there the next day causing trouble.
Now I heard that the next day after that incident that the Scranton Police Department came in and took that teacher out of there. Is that true?
So he was escorted from the building, not by the police, but by the vice principal. And yeah, I mean, he was teaching. He didn't know that was going to happen. And
you just react in the moment. You're
trying to protect people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. So the way that the Scranton School District has operated in the past, they've removed teachers from the hallways. So there's
no more hall duty.
No, not for teachers. Not in the intermediate schools. And
they used to do that for like free periods.
They did, yes.
Yeah, when you had a free period, you're on hold duty.
Yeah, so they used to have teachers get what's called a prep period where you prepare.
Yeah.
Which they don't have now anyway because there's such a sub shortage and a teacher shortage. But they have that, and then they would have a duty period. Now, teachers are natural authority figures. So if there's a teacher on duty at a bathroom standing there, you're not going to start a fight. But now there are none. So there are fights in the bathrooms all the time. And so this teacher, in between classes, in passing, of his own accord, will go stand, and be the authority figure, be seen. That's very important, to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So he does this and gets involved, stops the kid from chasing the girl, and he's the one who gets a suspension, not the kid. You have a massive, massive problem in a school district that looks at things that way. And so why is it like this? So I'll tell you, the first thing is they're afraid of lawsuits. So
you think that's the primary thing?
The Scranton School District is afraid that kid who may, and I don't know this, but I'm going to guess, this kid may have what's called an IEP. So they have an extra layer of legal protection. And sometimes they can be based on behavior. So certain behaviors get forgivable, if you have a behavioral problem.
Right.
And it's documented and you're covered under special ed law. And there are
just for clarity, right?
Yeah,
so that's like a kid with like Asperger's or something like that who hits themselves or
no, it's more broad than that. So basically,
no. So intentionally, the beginning of it was something like that. It was almost like a shield to be like, okay, this kid is,
the goal of them is noble in the sense that like
for special ed, you'd have violent kids.
Yeah, that's the behavioral IEP.
Yeah.
Then there's also academic reasons that you might need it. And there's a whole other debate because when you get a job you're not going to be able to.
Do you want to get Tom some scotch or something?
Yeah, sure.
I think we might need it.
Yeah, we're going to.
I think so. We have ice.
But like so what happens? An individualized education plan, an IEP, you get things that the district must do. So if a kid has some sort of behavioral thing where they need to like run around their classroom, you can't punish them for that.
Right.
Now,
even though it is disruptive.
Yeah. So what the district, and I know that they've done this, so the district will put these things in IEPs, which will hamstring teachers. And it's stupid that the district will do this at times. Now, if a kid has
the district, who are the ones that allow that? Is that administration? Is that psychologists?
It would be the head of special education. She would be responsible for that culture.
Okay.
And there have been IEPs that students have. Sorry about that.
I just want you more bass in your voice.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. So there have been things that students get in their IEPs that are just impossible. Like, the teacher must call home every day with a progress. No teacher can call one kid's parents every single day with an update. That's unrealistic. So then you have these unrealistic and also unhelpful things. But yet they're still in there. Yeah. Yes. And they need to have a better review process. But the reason that affects the discipline problem is because now there's a fear because the district will get sued and will lose. The district loses, it hemorrhages money to special ed lawsuits. So if you violate one thing on this document that you made impossible to follow anyway, you'll get sued and you'll lose. And these cases can be 10 grand, 50 grand, whatever. And the district loses millions every year. So because of that,
does the Scranton School District?
Yeah, millions.
They lose millions every year to IEP lawsuits.
Yes. Yeah. Now the district.
Did you know that?
No.
Your taxpayers pay your tax money pays for that. Right?
Yeah. The numbers in the past were astronomical. I'm not current.
I think it's in the millions.
I think it's about 6 million is what it was maybe in 2018, 2019.
For 1 year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now insurance will cover a portion of it, but it's still money coming out of your pocket because the insurance premiums are god awful.
But the other thing too is I don't understand why the school district in their IEPs would almost make it so that they are getting sued. It's almost like you're policing yourself and making sure that you poison yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and and there are correct ways to do it and good ways to do it, and I know administrators in other districts who are capable of reducing lawsuits. A friend of mine was a principal in a Scranton school and went from the one with the most lawsuits to zero, just because he implemented simple policies like review the IEP before it go to make sure that it's actually reachable. This stuff.
So if you pay, even if you paid a group of people, let's say there's a group of people that you say, okay, You guys are trusted people that we respect your opinions, and we know that you know what you're talking about, and you're going to call balls and strikes that are fair. That is so. Let's say we paid 5 people $20,000 a year just to review that. You are still not spending $6 million a year.
Yeah, we have people paid to do that. It just doesn't happen because you need
Tom? What?
Well, the head of special ed, I think she's probably making $125 a year. She could just do a better job.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you know what? I'll just tell you this little tidbit from my brief time on the board. Twice I tried to get her in the boardroom to talk about things that I had caught that should not have happened. And twice she accidentally couldn't make it.
Yeah, but this is one person that is responsible for all of this. Am I wrong?
At 120,000.
That's her job. That's her job.
Yeah, but she's a little under 10,000 kids. She's the tip of the spear for IEPs.
Yeah, so she's the one who sets the policy, and then she has people under who enforce it. But yeah, so the reason I bring this up as it relates to this violence issue is because if you're afraid to engage in discipline, then the kid, it's a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And when they do things that are wrong and I okay, I'll let them go this time. Well, guess what? It happens again. And I've learned I can't. Okay, you're going to sit in timeout. Oh, you don't like that? Okay, well then stop that bad behavior. You need to correct behaviors. And now they're too afraid. And here's what compounds the situation. So they suspended that teacher who got involved in that fight. Teacher got punished, not the kid. Now teachers are like, well,
why should I even fucking bother?
Yeah. And now it's because I'm going to get suspended for 3 weeks if I get involved in a fight.
3 weeks he got.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right now, you're picking between right and left. I poured one of each.
This is not a political choice, Tom. This is a literal right and left.
No, I know. I got it. I don't know. What?
I like them both equally, but for different reasons.
Okay. So you have to explain.
Okay. So this one this is Widow Jane. It's a 10-year. It's really good. It's a really high quality bourbon. Just really, really good. This one is near and dear to my heart, actually. My family 150 years ago owned this distillery.
Oh, Tom's going to go for that. You knew he was going to go for that.
Come on.
There you go. Cheers, brother.
Start with you.
Okay. So you think one of the factors of this is the IEP program in and of itself?
Yeah, and it is kind of a separate issue, but you got
to admit it plays a part.
That's why I brought it up, because when you fear lawsuits and now you're afraid to act, and you have you've established a culture among your administration that's like we have to err on the side of avoiding a lawsuit, which sounds smart, but then the kids' culture is now going to change. So that's I think it's a contributing factor. I have no problem with IEPs. Of course, kids need help, and it's a good thing, and they help kids to succeed. But you can't let them hamstring your decision making.
Do you think that people take advantage of those IEPs?
Oh God, yeah.
Students, parents,
students, and parents will. As a teacher, I'll tell you.
So I think that needs to be explored for a moment because it seems in concept to be a good thing.
Yeah, and it is in concept.
But you and I and all of us in this room, the thousands of us, know that good things can go bad very quickly. People can once they find out the way to take advantage of that good thing, they will take advantage of it.
Yeah, and so I'll give you an example. So I hear about the content of IEPs from my colleagues, and I've dealt with it for my career. So occasionally a kid will be like, if you get one of them that I saw, and it's the Scranton, or heard about, I should say, it's the Scranton School District one where a kid, if they fail, can be told what the right answers are, and then they get to go back and take the test again. I think that defeats the purpose of testing, right?
Well, it's
so if you fail, you get another shot.
It's an acknowledged cheat sheet.
Yeah, and some of them that I have had in my career, you have to give them the answers to the test the day before to study, and then but they're the only ones who can get it. The other kids can't. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. Stuff like that doesn't actually. And here's the thing: when you go out into the real world and get a job, your job's not going to be changed for you.
That's the problem. Is the goal of the education system is to prepare these kids. Essentially, what you're doing is preparing them for the workforce.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the hours kind of match the hours of a work day and all of those things. It's what you're doing. You're educating for a smarter population, and you're preparing them for the workforce. Me as a business owner, you as a new business owner, you as a business owner, when I get a resume, I don't look at the grades. I look at the extracurriculars. I look at the recommendations.
Yeah,
I look at all of those other things because grades don't matter anymore. They
that's
just
the
don't.
Thing. And
they're not even real anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and that's one of the best ones in Scranton is you can't fail if you have one of these. Like, so you get a minimum.
You can't fail. You
get a minimum grade of 70.
So you're basically you are enticed to do nothing.
Yeah.
You are motivated to do nothing.
Yeah. Like so.
What is
when
that?
I was teaching,
what does that create?
So the minimum grade for me when I was teaching was 65. So you could still fail, but like you get a kid who like for 3/4 do nothing, get the minimum 65, and then like do all the work last quarter and pass for the year and have actually not learned anything. So stuff like that is infuriating.
Oh my God.
But it's all in service of the avoidance of lawsuits. And you can do this stuff in an intelligent way without actually compromising the integrity of your entire district. And, and there are, local districts that are a little smarter about it, but the Scranton is not. And, so now you have, administrators who don't want to come down too hard on a kid with an IEP out of fear of lawsuit. Now you have teachers who are like, ooh, I have to second guess myself. Am I going to get suspended or interviewed by the police? Or this teacher had child line, which is the child abuse line, called on him by the district.
This teacher who
the
we were
district
talking about
called
earlier.
child line on the teacher.
Why is the fucking district doing that?
Yeah, because I don't know. They're like
Cover their ass so they don't get sued.
It's probably that. But the fact I find it so immoral that that's their line of thinking that I can't help but get angry. This is a teacher's teacher. Like I want my son to have this man as his teacher one day. Brilliant guy, goes above and beyond. Like education's gotten so hellish that I left. This guy went through this horrifying experience, which would have left me bitter and said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be the best teacher I've ever been. I'm going to prove them all wrong. I'm like, man, that's what a teacher's supposed to be. But he got that kind of treatment. That's the thanks he got from the district.
A big finger.
Yeah. It basically said, fuck you. You're trying to help kids. Fuck that. And there's no accountability on the administrative level because they're the ones creating this culture and they get raises.
Okay. So administration is superintendent
down.
What is it? Break down the.
So the superintendent, Melissa McTiernan, she's the boss. I think she's probably making like 160 or 165 right now.
She's making 165 and kids are getting murdered on her watch.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to tell you something very important about that. The district's going to claim that it didn't happen on their watch because it was after school and it was not on school grounds. But somebody just sent me the school code.
Do we have breaking news here?
Yeah. I'm gonna read
or at least, oh wait, is Tom telling us truths?
Yeah, I'm gonna read you the handbook about off-campus activities. This is from the Scranton School District handbook. This policy shall also apply to student conduct that occurs off school property and would otherwise violate the Code of Student Conduct if any of the following circumstances exist. And this is important. It says the conduct occurs during the time the student is traveling to and from school.
This was right after school.
Yeah.
It was literally
and about 100 yards from the school.
So I've actually been looking into it a lot today, talking to my son and his friends. They knew all these kids.
Yeah, I'm sure. We just wanted to how are your kids doing? Like they've got to be traumatized.
Can I tell you something? Like all we wanted to do today was just have fun with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
No. Here's the thing, Tom. At the end of the day, there's been a few things that have happened over the past couple of weeks in regards to schools in America.
Yeah.
And they're all horrific.
It's terrifying.
And at some point, and I don't know, maybe if you feel this way, I kind of feel this way at this point today, maybe it'd be cathartic to just talk about it and get it over with.
Not a bad point.
So let me run you through the past couple of months for my son, especially at Scranton High School.
Yeah, I completely forgot he was at Scranton. So
he's a senior this year at Scranton. Played basketball. One day at practice, they see a group of kids outside of the doors of the gymnasium, and one of the kids on the team is acting real sheepish. She's like, please don't let me go out there alone. They're going to kill me. So Phoenix is telling us the next day.
This is real.
So,
my God.
So they're all kind of like, okay, man, like whatever. It's not, it's not that you're just being dramatic. So they all walk out as like a group together, kind of had him in the middle, like, what is going on? My son was kind of at the front of the group, and as they go out to their vehicles, 4 kids get out of this car and start to approach the group. Kid reaches into his pocket and fumbles the gun on the ground right in front of my son, 4 feet in front of my son. So they all just...
Where was this? Where did this happen?
The second parking spot outside of the gymnasium.
So
on school property.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Did the kid get arrested?
It gets better. Worse. However you want to say it. So they all jump in their vehicles. This kid jumps in the vehicle of another kid on the team, and they take off driving, speeding out of town. They get stuck at a red light, maybe 1 or 2 cars in front of them, 2 or 3 more cars, and then this car, kids that were chasing them. Stop the red light. They all get out with guns, start sprinting towards his car. He peels out, goes around, burns the red light, and loses them. So I'm hearing this story. There's investigations, but nobody really knows what's going on. Nobody's talking. Fast forward to a couple of weeks later. I think it was the night of parade day. So there's fireworks going all over. There's parties all over. There's going to be a little bit of trouble, but you don't expect anything crazy. So where I live, about a block away, I'm in the middle of the block, and in the middle of the next block is some like student housing. And it's around midnight. I'm in bed. I can't sleep. So I'm kind of laying there. I'm kind of, just on my phone, whatever. My wife's asleep. And I hear anywhere between, in my opinion, 12 and 15 gunshots.
Jesus Christ.
So
this is a nice part of town.
Yeah. So, I know what it is immediately, and I know how close it is. I shoot a lot. I know a lot about firearms, so I know exactly what's going on. I get out of bed, throw on a shirt real quick, grab a gun out of the hand safe, and I just start pacing the house. And then all of a sudden, my phone just beams up my Ring camera, and I'm like, "Oh man, this is not okay." So I pull it up. There's somebody at your garage, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" So I get myself positioned by the back door, towards the garage, and it's like, if somebody comes through this door, it is what it is. So thankfully, nothing else happened. The people left. I watched the video, and it's 3 individuals, 2 guys and a girl. The 2 guys, one opens up my trash can, throws in a ski mask, a hoodie, and a pair of gloves. The other kid says, we got to set it on fire. We got to set it on fire. He's like, we don't have time. The cops are coming, and they take off running. So I go out there. I pull this stuff out of my garbage can. I walk down the block barefoot at 12:30 at night. Cop cars coming up from everywhere. I'm like, okay, what is going on?
Just wait. This story gets better.
They can't. They're like, we can't tell you. It's an active investigation. I said, well, I know I heard 12 to 15 gunshots, and then I have a Ring video of 3 individuals coming up to my house, throwing in a ski mask, gloves, and a hoodie. I have it in my backyard. And then they took off running the opposite direction. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll come and find you once we get things wrapped up here. Okay, it's an active shooting situation. I get that. Like, they've got a nightmare that they're dealing with. Long story short, come to find out, they thought that same kid was at a party at that house. 2 kids went in there and just indiscriminately started shooting. Then I stayed up till 4 in. Nobody ever came. I went and got a few hours sleep. Next morning, I go downtown right after parade day to my business. There's 2 police officers taking the no parking signs down all over the place. So I go out there and said, hey, this is what happened. This is what I have. I have the video. I waited for the cop. And they said, yeah, our job is to take down signs. You need to talk to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can't call a buddy?
Nope. Here's how.
I said, you literally have a radio right there. You could really make this easy for me. No. Okay. So I'm steaming at this point.
Also, why are cops taking down signs? Shouldn't the parking authority do that or something?
Oh, that's
or
another.
DPW?
I don't know.
I don't know how that works.
That doesn't make any sense.
So my wife and I, we go and grab a little breakfast, lunch, whatever, and I'm steaming the whole time. She's like, you have a 15-year-old. I'm like, you know what? If they don't care, I don't care. I have firearms. I have security at my house. We're fine. She's like, you have a 15-year-old daughter. Do the right thing. I was like, all right, I'm going to keep chasing this down. I go down to the police station. Same story. I've got the video. I've got the evidence. And at this point, I sent the video to my son, who immediately told me who the kids were. Because he's like, oh, those are the kids that came to the school a couple weeks ago. It's the same kid. Here's the name. Here's where they live. Here's where they go to school. Here's all the information. Okay. Tell that to the police officer. Okay. Well, I've got your information. I was like, do you want the physical evidence I have? He goes, oh, yeah, I guess I should come and get that. Yeah, okay. So we go to my house. I give it to him, and he's like, all right, well, we'll call if we need anything. 10 days later, I get a phone call. It's Detective so-and-so.
10.
I'm telling him the story. And apparently, this kid was hunting down this kid that was on the basketball team. He was actively hunting him for weeks, to the point where the kid had to run off to another state and hide.
My God.
10 days later, I get a phone call. I finally tell him, this is the situation. This is what's going on. This is his name. This is him on the video. You have evidence of him going to the school and doing this. Nothing has happened. Nothing.
Did they say anything? Did they explain why nothing has happened?
No. And to me, like I hear what you're saying about the schools, and I'm seeing more of the same in the community. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, I moved to Scranton in 2004, and I don't remember hearing of more than maybe 1 or 2 murders up until about 3-4 years ago. And I think there might have been over 100 in the past 3-4 years. There's been 2 Scranton High School students killed in the past 10 days.
Is that true?
That's what I heard today.
Oh, are you talking about the North Pocono?
That's a third.
Yeah, the North Pocono kid was killed by a kid from Scranton.
What?
Yeah, that shooting.
Kid, the 17-year-old kid?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the kid who did it just got arrested. He
Yep.
lived in, I think, Southside.
Yeah.
What? Okay, look. So, oh man, my brain is so like, I'm like the red guy in Inside Out, or what's that movie where he was just
Yeah.
rage?
Yeah, Rage.
It was Louis C.K. He was
No,
just, or not,
Louis
Louis Black.
Black.
Yeah. What? Okay. We all know what each one of those guys does. We see it. It's almost like we're blissfully ignorant to what is going on. And here's the thing. I could worry as much as I want about what's going on in Washington, D.C. or fucking California or Australia or Canada. But honestly, what really matters in this world happens here in our backyard, because we are the only ones who are going to take care of it. We are the only ones who are going to protect ourselves. We are the only ones who are going to raise our kids. You know, what is going on? It seems like government, which we are the ones who say, hey, we want you to do this job so you can think about the people.
It's failing utterly on all levels.
Yeah.
Why are we all so complacent about it? Why are we all just sitting around going like, okay, we're worried about Uvalde? Like, look, what happened down there is terrible. That is a failure across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
I can't even
But here's the thing.
deal with it.
Uvalde was doing active shooter drills fucking 2 months before. And nobody did a fucking thing, right? So it's like, are we paying attention? Because it's your kids, it's your friends, it's your friends' kids. Like this is not this fucking woke crazy shit when people talk about this. Like people, like this is legitimate. This is real. This is reality. This is what's going on. I don't understand how people in power right now are just putting their hands over their eyes, their mouth, and their ears.
Well, they're getting their paychecks. They're doing fine. I mean, come on. When was the last major sweeping thing that our government has really done for people? I mean, like, was it like the Voting Rights Act? Like, are we going back to the 60s? I mean, the government
that came with its caveats.
Yeah, well, sure, but civil rights. Like, when have we made a major social shift that was led by the government? And we just haven't. The government's reactive.
Yeah, but it's always been the people. Like if you go to places that are, let's say, the flyover states, right? You go to those communities have their shit in check for the most part, as much as they can. Like small towns, like half the size of Scranton, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Where everybody knows your name, and they make sure, like, there is a thing to be like, you don't do that here.
Yeah, well,
if you want to do your crazy shit, go out in the desert.
Yeah, and you guys probably live in a similar neighborhood where your neighbors are always looking like who's walking down the street. That's how it is in my neighborhood, and I love it that way. And a lot of Scranton is like that.
Yeah, that's why I have a big dog.
Yeah, hey, and that's
Anne Marley.
Don't tell my wife you said that.
Yeah, we're not gonna let her know.
I love you, Vic. I'm sorry.
So yeah,
I can't find the answers because where my logic takes me, it doesn't take me to a good place.
No.
It doesn't take me to a place where I'm like, oh, this will get better.
No, we've got a cultural sickness, and you think about, like, okay, so I was discussing mass shootings with my brother the other day, and he's like, if people were happy, they wouldn't want to grab a gun and murder children or anyone. And like a lot of the root of unhappiness is insecurity, and
it's mental health.
Well, yeah, but what also is causing that problem? And I think one of the things,
but I can't believe that people are getting really upset and crazy because they're insecure because they don't look like Ashley Simpson.
I'm also talking about economic insecurity. I'm talking about all forms of insecurity.
Okay.
So if you are living and like the Uvalde kid lived a shit life, and when you have a shitty life, you become maybe a shitty person. Or at least you're maybe trend toward it. I'm not saying you can't overcome a bad life. You can. But if you
here's the issue. This is what I think. You and I have talked about this quite a bit, right? Yeah. Everybody needs to calm down and take a step back, because a lot of there's no positive figures in these people's lives.
Well, that's what I mean. So if you're living in, so now you're insecure on the familial level,
right?
Because you don't have positive family influences. Like, where do we get our values from? Our families. And you work to be the best dad you can be. I'm working to be the best dad I can be. And our kids are going to be okay because of us and the work that you and your wife put in, the work that me and my wife put in, and your nephew, you're a wonderful influence. So, but so many kids just don't have that. And what's the root? And if you're looking at, you're going to inherit, a miserable lifestyle. If your parents or single parent family, because of economic issues or how you grew up or whatever, that's the world and that's who you're going to be. It's like people who are in abusive relationships.
That's the world they know.
That's the world they know. So if the parents are abusive relationship, the child's going to be in an abusive relationship because subconsciously you've just learned that that's how love works.
Right.
And that's document. So we have in America so much insecurity of all forms, economic, familial, mental, that we're just destabilizing. We're falling apart.
Okay? So when people refer to stuff like that, right? Economic and familial. I'm just asking this question. Is that a values thing?
Familial would most certainly be. Economic, nobody wants to
be poor.
Be poor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing though. So imagine, how tough it is if you don't think about like the economy right now with gas prices. So if let's say you even wanted to get a job and better yourself, and you can't.
Good luck paying for it.
Yeah, it's gonna cost you an arm and leg just to drive to the interview. Like, come on. And so where do you cut? Where do you trim the fat? Do you buy less food? Well, you buy unhealthier food, certainly.
Yeah.
Because that's cheap.
Health problems come into play now.
And that, yeah. So then
it's a downward spiral.
It's a complete downward spiral.
And now your medical bills go up.
And so we have all of these things going on in America systemically forever. So of course this is going to be the modern state of America, because everybody's fucked.
I definitely think that's a slice of the pie. I think you're 100% like, I remember.
Well, nobody saw the other side of it where Tom's like, just big, like fucking gong show, like everybody's fucked.
And I actually have to say, now that I don't have to worry about, I'm no longer a public employee. I can say whatever I want.
Isn't it nice that
it's
you don't
freeing,
have to?
Isn't it?
It's really
real
liberating.
freedom is to be to never have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
I remember going back, having conversations early on in all like the shutdowns for COVID. And a couple of weeks into it, I had kind of come to the realization, like, yes, COVID is bad. It's killing people, but it's not the zombie apocalypse. And I was like,
thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I think we need to dial back some of the crazy shutdowns and all that. And, and I got a lot of pushback and a lot of grief for that. And I said, but everybody needs to stop and relax. We're piling people into Lowe's and Home Depot and nothing is happening.
That was so
Why
unfair.
can't the mom and pop be open? So that was the argument I was making. And I remember having a conversation with a group of local politicians, and I'm kind of ripping them a new one. And they're all like, we understand. It's all okay. I'm like, you don't have a clue.
No,
like,
they don't understand.
You're a bunch of assholes. And I remember saying to them, I said, throughout history, more than any plague, more than any pandemic, more than any health issue in the world, the number one thing that kills people is poverty, and you're making us all go broke.
Yep. Yeah.
You look at what's happening in this country right now. There's a lot of factors to it, okay? Certainly the war in Ukraine is a factor. Certainly some of the policies, COVID, some of the COVID fallout. But the decisions and policies made by politicians over the past 2 years are 98% of the reason we have the record inflation, the gas prices, the food shortages. You don't get to shut down a country and things just keep going normal.
Yeah. Oh my God. The chip shortage is a direct result of that.
They chose this.
Yep.
And to hear politicians now being like, oh, well, it's all Putin's fault, or it's all this political party's fault. No, Republicans and Democrats, you all did it.
Yeah.
And this isn't, now some did it a lot worse than others, but like, this is all on you guys.
Yeah.
You were the ones who said, shut down your business or I'll send somebody with a gun to your business.
Yeah.
It's insane what has happened.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I understand that later, much later, they're like, here's some relief money.
It was nothing.
It was nothing. And if you're you should do that from the beginning. If you this is how much the business was making or you need, and we're going to tell you can't do business, then you need to supplement that. So,
just don't violate the Constitution and shut down my business.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So but you're right. It made people poor.
But okay. So I mean, look, we watch these people on the news. We read their Twitters and their Facebooks, and it's like, oh, this feels good. And when you watch it, but what you don't fucking realize is these people are slowly. We're all the frog in the pot, man. Like they keep turning it up because they're like, what can I get away with? What can I get away with? What can I? Oh, they didn't do anything. I'm going to push further. And then eventually you are at a place where you're like, how did I get here? And it's terrifying because when you get to that place, you're like, I need to go. That's the fight or flight thing. It's I need to get back to where this wasn't happening. And so it's left and right. Like you're going to see people like this is going to get fucking crazy.
It's funny you say left and right.
And no one saw it happen.
The effective difference for us as average people who are the ones who get affected by these policies, left or right, it's just like, both of them are going to fuck you, but one's going to use the correct pronouns while they do it. That's
well. So here's the thing: which side is going to use the correct pronouns? That's another thing that like we don't know.
Yeah,
but look.
So you know what? I can't stand either of them. I've gotten to the point where I'm completely fed up, and I have no faith in any
establishment politicians, any of them.
Yeah.
So based on your very brilliant joke,
thank you.
Did you hear that on the construction site?
I think you're absolutely right. Poverty, some systems that we have in place that are causing people to fail economically. For me, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, I think one of the biggest problems we have in this country, and especially in this country right now, is we have lost sense of what is true moral humanity. Oh man, I'm going to get canceled, but who cares? We've stopped.
We are now on Odyssey.
We have stopped telling the truth.
Yeah.
As a culture. We just stopped. For 2 years, our government, Donald Trump, then Joe Biden and Fauci and everybody in the middle, all lied to us about COVID, and everybody ate it hook, line, and sinker. We are now at a point where the progressive movement, which I've been a liberal my whole life, until very recently. Now I'm like, I'm an independent because you people have gone too far. Of course we all want to be pro LGBTQ rights, of course, but laws are being passed that parents no longer have a say in kids that are 14 years old having gender reassignment surgery.
It's being used now as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like we've gone too far. And, not to pick on this again, but like transgender, male to female transgender athletes competing against women, feminism is done. It's over. Women don't matter anymore because somebody who is biologically superior is allowed to take a few hormones after going through puberty. It's like,
but
what is happening?
Yeah. Him and I have these conversations, right? So maybe you can help me answer this, right?
Sure.
Objectively, we know that is a truth. We know that, like, if I put Micah in the ring with a lady, dollars to donuts.
Not all. I've seen some badass ladies.
But you know what I mean? Like
the average.
The average, right? Yeah, so we know that these things are objectively true. Why is it that we're told that we're scumbag pieces of shit because we go, wait a second, the sky's blue?
That doesn't seem fair.
Actually, let me tell you why I think that's the case, and it's actually going to be connected to poverty because I've recently come to the belief that I think everything revolves around keeping everybody so
subdued.
Fucked. Yeah,
the haves and the have-nots.
You just said, Mark, that like why don't people do anything? Because they can't. Because they're worried about how to feed themselves.
Yeah,
right.
But so these things rile people up. Because we understand what like a man and a woman is, but really like I saw one of those states that passed Ohio passed a law, and there was like it affected literally one person in their state of like 20 million people or whatever. Not 20 million, but
Chucky's
I think
happy.
they're like
Ohio?
11, yeah, like
There's
11
like
million.
72 decent people in Ohio.
Yeah. So that law, the transgender law that they passed, I think it affected one person.
Yeah.
So why fixate on that and why create a culture war? Because that's what it is. Because culture wars are the greatest goddamn distraction because everyone has an opinion on it and none of our opinions fucking matter.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that we just said means anything or will affect anything about trans athletes in sports. And it is an issue, but it's such a minuscule issue that affects almost no one ever in history and now that when we fight about this shit,
but it does
we're not paying attention to the people who are robbing us blind. Or like, God damn it, the Senate is barely, they can't fucking pass something to make insulin affordable. We have 60 million diabetics in this country, and insulin costs like $1 to make, and we charge people $1,200 for a goddamn vial. And our politicians have a real easy choice. Pass something that bans exploiting people. But you know what? What do you think half of these assholes are doing in Congress? They're railing about fucking woke politics. Shut the fuck up. Nobody can do anything about that stuff. But we should be doing something about is the fact that diabetics can't afford medication that they came up with decades ago and didn't patent so that people could make it cheaply. But now you have all these companies making assloads of money. It's great for like Pfizer. It's great for them. It's for Sanofi Pasteur.
And their stockholders.
And their stockholders. If people are pissed about transgender athletes and not pissed
about insulin prices.
But because here's the thing.
But insulin doesn't affect me. That does, because I have a daughter.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, it affects me. I'm a diabetic. I need insulin.
Yeah.
But I mean, it affects people you know. I can almost
You might be
guarantee
the only person with diabetes that I know.
You probably know tons. We're all
probably not. I just don't know it.
We're everywhere.
So while we're on the topic of diabetics, what was the number 2 risk factor for fucking COVID?
Yeah, diabetics. That's why
then
diabetes. I took it very seriously.
It was like 70% of people were diabetic.
I took.
So let's make sure that you're locked in your home, scared fucking shitless, right?
And can't afford your insulin.
And you can't afford your fucking insulin.
That's the
thing.
thing.
But let's worry about making sure kids are fucking vaccinated.
But
like, where is our priority?
We can make sure we quadruple vax people for free.
Yeah, and
somehow we figured that one out real quick.
Yeah, well, and drug makers made a fortune on that.
Yeah,
and,
but these are the conversations. These are the things that we need to be like, whoa, let's compare and contrast here for a second.
Yeah, and I think that so much is a purposeful distraction from things that actually matter. Because really, if the state of Ohio is going to spend all their time, energy, arguments, and create a kitchen table issue about transgender athletes, and it's one person, and I'm sorry if that person is going through hell, which they probably are, especially if a state's making a law that affects one person. But like,
man, can you imagine being that kid?
I mean,
everyone's mad at you.
I had a lot of rules created about me as a child.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, there's so much more shit that affects so many more people, and these issues would fall to the wayside because they're culture war issues.
Yeah,
people are more likely to engage in culture war issues than economic ones, and the people who run the show prefer it that way. Why wouldn't you? If I'm a multimillionaire and I'm scamming the country and making assloads of money exploiting people, I would much rather you guys fight over LGBTQ rights than realize that I'm robbing you blind.
Yeah, well, I'm having someone peel kiwi in front of me. You know what I mean? Like that's their other option. They don't give a shit. They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
But how do you change that though? Like for me,
I don't know.
I mean, it has to change.
At that point now where we're like,
it has to change at the governmental level. And I mean, you look at the last
bottom up.
I'm a big believer in if you haven't been assassinated, you weren't really trying to affect change.
Or at least an attempt.
I mean, think about it. Think about the big players that really tried to affect change in this country. There was a couple of big pivotal moments. Number one, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, look at what he did, and they killed him.
Yep.
JFK.
Yep.
RFK.
Yeah, I mean those two guys,
Malcolm X,
were trying to significantly alter the trajectory of this country, and some very powerful people said that can't happen.
Yeah, but a lot of things that people they might not be aware of this is like when you say alter the trajectory of the country, all of these Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, all they were trying to say was like, hey man, it's like the Carlin bit. It's a big fucking club and you're not in it. You know, that's what they were basically trying to say. It's like, it doesn't matter black, white, Asian, whatever. These people are now putting their boot on you in one way or another, and it's going to continue. And, they were trying to open. They were the Alex Joneses of their time.
And I know this sounds crazy, but I often see almost every issue from an economic lens. So even like I said, I'm framing the transgender issue.
Republican. He's such a good. I'm kidding.
I'm sick.
You're a man without an island. I understand.
Yeah. I'm. Yeah. So
most of us are.
Yeah. Honest to God. But so I see. It's really easy to just see everything, and if you frame it that way, it's like, oh, we're just getting screwed, and they're really good at it.
It's the haves versus the have-nots.
Absolutely, it is, and they're not our friends. They don't care about us. They will never care about us. And so earlier you said, both of you were alluding to the fact that we have to take care of ourselves and our communities. You have a gun in your home, you can protect your home because you can't rely on other people. That's where I have gotten. As well, because I
wait. Was that recently you got there?
I just functionally lost hope that things will get better ever. So yeah, it's because like I also
you want to go shooting next week?
I don't mind. Yeah. No, I don't.
Was problem. But was that over the last few years?
Yeah, I would say so. Because I mean, ultimately, like I realized there's two main problems.
Isn't it interesting they want to take your guns away when most people are like, "Hey, man, I need a gun."
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That's a whole other thing. But
isn't that weird?
But the thing for me is the realization that I have no power or control and no ability to affect change.
The only thing you control is what lives inside the four walls of your home.
Yes, and it's probably a dark or sad realization, but I had the realization that I have no control. And we think about these things because we care, and we can propose solutions and ideas because we care. And I try to get involved in local politics because I care. But I'm not changing the fucking world. I'm not.
Right.
Even
maybe for a few people you can try a little bit. You can put
I was a teacher for 17 years. I know that I was a positive influence in a lot of people's lives, but I'm still not changing the world. And by realizing that, I can understand that I need to focus on myself and my family.
Mm-hmm.
So family first, then community, and then I'll worry about a war on the other side of the world. And I know that sounds ignorant.
No, it's not. It's honest. It's not ignorant, man.
I can't.
Don't apologize for that. That's how you should think.
But I gotcha. And it was a hard realization for me to have. And it's one of the reasons why I went into business, and one of the reasons why because I have to do what's best for family first, community next. I'm never going to change the trajectory of the state. I can do some good things for my community. I can protect my family, but I think America is fucked. And that's why I have evolved, because I don't think we're bouncing back.
I spoke to a guy the other day. He's a brilliant historian, knows American politics and history very well. And he said, historically, every single time, the only kind of governments that ever last are dictatorships and like a tyrannical royalty.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, that makes perfect sense.
Those are the only kind of governments that last, because they have a system where you are underfoot and there's no way to get out. And if you try and rebel, they'll just slaughter you. You don't have weapons. You don't have means. All of your income comes from the state. So it's like, what are you going to do? Throw rocks at somebody that's flying an F-14? So, and the point he was making was this grand experiment that is America. Okay, you go back to 1775, 1776 when this whole thing was birthed. The decision that was made, it was this. Somebody asked me the other day, and it was brilliant. I was thinking about it in the shower. What is America? America is a collection of independent states that have been brought together over almost 250 years to form a society that is based on Enlightenment thinking, Judeo-Christian values, and to function as a constitutional republic that twice a year is a democracy. That's basically America.
That's a good description.
And for all of its faults, because they didn't get it all right in the beginning, we've been working to form a more perfect union, and at times we've gotten it right and at times we've gotten it wrong.
We're in the wrong times.
But what he said was, and you go throughout history, and as soon as he said it, I was like, oh boy, because I'm a massive student of history. You go back to democratically functioning constitutional republics. Rome was one. Greece was one for a little while. America, and there's been a couple other pockets of it, just not as well known. They typically don't last for more than 250 years. None's ever lasted more than 255.
Venice, they have. They were the longest lived republic.
Yep. And we're at year 249.
Yeah, we got some problems.
I think we're done.
I hope not.
Yeah, but so what is done? Like,
I don't know what that means. I don't know where we're at, and it is something that it's we can't control it because we're just three dudes.
Do you start? I mean, well, we can talk about it. I mean, that's the
no,
best.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's.
I'm happy to
until
do
they
it.
stop us from talking to each other.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get to that point. I think we are going to continue to destabilize though.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the other side of that's going to look like. And we haven't even talked about how climate change is going to affect like cities. I
don't believe that. Here's why I don't believe that. Ready? Here's why I don't believe that. To me, it's very simple. If Nancy Pelosi believes in climate change, why is she buying estates on the water?
I mean, she'll be dead by the time it affects her.
Yeah, but see, even as an investment, it's a terrible idea.
I'll take that one further.
I mean, it exists. I mean, it's a thing.
Oh, 100% exists.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen next week.
Oh, no.
And I don't think it's the crazy catastrophic thing that.
Well, I mean, we're having more. The West is on fire always. Lake Mead is routinely worse.
So if you look at the 50-year graph, right, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
If you look at the 2,000-year graph, it looks like business as usual.
I gotcha, and hopefully that will be the case.
Yeah, but so we got to stop having this alarmist shit.
I'm not being an alarmist.
No, I'm not saying you.
But I'm saying, if we get more major hurricanes and our Jesus, Texas couldn't even handle a snowstorm.
Yeah, we are in a bad chunk of it right now.
Our infrastructure cannot handle.
Yeah.
Because we don't invest in ourselves.
That's another massive problem.
Yeah, we haven't had a refinery built in this country since the 70s.
A massive problem.
That what was that? That bridge in Minneapolis just collapsed because they just never maintained it. I mean,
I remember that.
Yeah, people died. Like, the commute to work. Well, too bad. Because
so can I tell you something? Can I tell you a little crazy conspiracy thing about that? So my family's in the steel business, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. So I said to when I remember that happened. That was like mid 2000s ish. I said, why did that happen to my dad? And he goes, bird shit. I said, what do you mean bird shit? He goes, if you have a half-inch plate holding on a piece of steel and the bird shit on it for 30 years, that half-inch plate is now a quarter-inch. And I said, okay,
I didn't know
how many bridges are like that? And he goes, 90%.
I was just going to say all of them.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Right? I was here. I don't even want to say it. I'll tell you later. I heard something. I heard somebody say something of a political power and they said something along the lines of like, there was a call and I happened to overhear this call, and on the call it was
wiretapping phones.
I was not. I was just in the vicinity, and there was a conversation about the Build Back Better stuff, right? It was $1 trillion, right? On this phone call with some pretty high up people. At some point towards the end of the conversation, somebody had mentioned, and important person, our dams in our county have been around since like 1840. Those are something we might want to look into to fix them or rehab them.
Yeah, Jesus, Johnstown.
And the very important person says, we never thought about that. Yeah. And I'm like, in your $1.34 trillion bill that is supposed to be focused on infrastructure, you never thought dams? Because I heard you bring up Lake Mead.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
So this is what it is. Like even locally, like basically what you do is you elect the prom king or queen, and then they bring the cool table to come run shit. Those people are not qualified to come run shit.
Yeah.
And then generationally, 12 years later, 16 years later, you don't see the effects of what they did.
Yeah. And
at the time.
God. Yeah. It was funny. When I was making me think of when I was on the school board, all of the pipes.
Did I give you trauma?
No. I enjoyed that fight. There were pipes that had completely busted. They like rusted prematurely. Scranton High, which they were like 20 years old.
Yeah, that thing was just recently built.
And the company that put them in doesn't exist anymore. They got their contract dissolved. Nobody.
Wow.
You just suffer. And it makes me think about that with like politicians and their clubs. They never have to pay because they're never around for the consequences of their bullshit. Or they can easily just blame somebody else.
It seems like a good con.
I just read to you the district's actual policy.
Yeah.
So there's an overlap between this unbelievably tragic incident and school district policy. And I guarantee you they're going to say it didn't happen on our property and it didn't happen on our time.
I saw the video. And it was close enough.
They're going to wipe their hands of it because that's how these people are. There's no sense of collective responsibility That's why I've used the word culture a couple times. I think we have cultural problems. There could be microcosmic culture problems, like if there's a group of people who run a school district and create this microculture where we're too afraid to ever engage in discipline, but then that seeps out and that seeps out, and
yeah, once the dam starts leaking, you don't know the damage downstream. It's going to happen.
This is what I'm saying. And so that's, you look at, collective social problems and they're cultural. And as I said earlier, I often think they're linked to poverty.
So people think I've gone nuts, right? Just because I'm like, I don't like either team. Right. So so for like governor, right? I like a guy like Doug Mastriano, right? Regardless of what you think about him.
God, he's a whack job.
Regardless of what you think about him, I've met him. I know him. He's a good man.
I'm sure you can't win without being charming.
I met him. It was a place where you didn't need to be charming. Very nice guy. But when we talk about like what needs to happen, I think that's those people that you view as like those people. They're the answer to the people who for years have been forgotten.
Well, and that's
for years who they've been lied to.
I do like that. So you bring up a good point. I don't necessarily like where those people are going, but they are an answer to having been functionally ignored forever. Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why Trump was as successful as he was. I think he's a charlatan, and I can't stand him. But that's also no different than almost every politician. They're all charlatans, and I can't stand any of them. But the people are drawn to that because they feel left out of the process, and he wanted to include the left out. And that's why he's successful.
Is that such a bad idea, though, to include the left out?
No.
You think the intention was malicious because you think he's a confidence man.
Yeah.
But as far as a practice, it's
it's
aren't
smart.
those the people you're supposed to talk to?
Yeah, well, and this is why I know so many people who liked Bernie and Trump. Because
it was the antithesis to all of it.
But yeah, I love Bernie.
And Bernie got screwed.
And he got screwed by the establishment because they knew he was a threat. The Republican establishment failed to screw Trump. But that's
which is good.
I don't know.
Look, if you have one side that screwed a guy successfully and another side that didn't screw a guy successfully, I want the person that the establishment hates.
So since I functionally feel that everything is always a failure, I won't get excited that he did what he did because I think he's a douchebag. But yeah, I get the symbolic value of appreciating what he did.
Sure.
And that's the thing. Like, so a guy like Bernie who is a complete political opposite of a guy like Trump, but people see that and they're like, oh, they're talking to me. No one talks to me. That's why John Fetterman looks like the kind of guy who it's winter, it's negative 32. You drive by Haggerty's and he's just standing out there having a fucking smoke in his gym shorts and hoodie. Like, that's John Fetterman. He just seems like an average dude. And you can talk to him like an average dude. I've talked to him a couple times. And so now, oh wait, he listens. So he hasn't had a campaign and he's beating Oz. Why? Because people look at that authenticity.
No, the right hates Oz.
Well, yeah.
No, Fetterman's going to crush him.
Yeah. And I think Fetterman will be a good senator because he listens. But
he's also like the left's version of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I don't think he doesn't say weird nut shit. What's the weirdest nuttiest shit he said?
I want to like him so bad because I'm like, I like a guy that's different.
I pay attention to the economic issues. That's what I pay attention to. So he's right for me on like, he hits those notes for me.
So I look at it this way.
Like if I was driving past Haggerty's outside crushing a smoke in fucking 12-degree weather and shorts on, and I drove by and somebody's like, oh, who's that? And I'm like, oh, that's your governor. They'd be like, what the fuck happened to your state? Don't you think, Tom?
I like that about him. That's the thing I like about him. I like
that too, because authenticity actually also matters to me.
Huge.
Because I would that's so I
is it authenticity in perception or is it authenticity in action?
In action. And so
because I don't really see authenticity in action in a lot of places.
Agreed. And that's why so Fetterman, he'll become a senator and then we'll get to see if the authenticity was real. But he
always disappoint your brother.
They do. He, unlike I'll give him a chance. Am I cynical and do I think, him and everyone is going to fail? Yeah. But he at least passed the bar of, I think he might actually
He passed the smell test.
Yeah, he passed that for me.
Although he looks like he smells real bad.
Yeah, but that's
hunting raccoons and stuff.
But that's the thing. He also went to all 67 counties to campaign.
Yeah.
No one does that. He went to the back.
Yeah, but he also went to all 67 counties to talk about legalizing marijuana.
good for him.
I'm just saying he did it once.
He did it more than once. When he
He
campaigned,
talked
he
about
did it again.
marijuana.
No, that was
Yeah.
when he was lieutenant governor. He did that listening tour.
Yeah.
But then he also campaigned in all 67 counties throughout the Senate,
Which is
run.
great.
Well, but that's the thing. So you go to, like Westmoreland County, where no one gives a shit about that because there's only 30,000 people in the whole county. He went there and he found a VFW and he bullshitted with everybody, had a beer with them, listened to what they gave a shit about, told them. And here's the thing. Guess what they give a shit about? They give a shit about economic issues. Like
Absolutely.
and that's what politicians who are good can connect with people on that level. But so many of them, like I said, it's the culture wars. Like, oh, let's get people pissed off at everybody about X, and then I'll win on that, and then I'll do whatever the fuck I want because I'll have my third mansion by the end of my career. That's how I see. Like Nancy Pelosi, come on, like she's a multi-cajillionaire. There's
who bought a house on the beach.
Yeah. What?
Just want to keep putting that out there.
Who wouldn't if they could? But that aside, she makes assloads of money on the stock market.
Right.
And
then makes decisions over what they can do.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Which is number one, a conflict of interest. Number two, insider trading. It's fucking illegal.
Not for members of Congress. And that is actually a thing.
Isn't that
It should be.
strange?
Yeah.
The people who make the rules make
for
different
thee,
rules
not
for
for me.
themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's all. You have power and you want to hold on to it.
Well, what's interesting is like to hear you say like you like Fetterman for economic issues. You're now a business owner. I'm a business owner. To me, right now, economic issues are probably the most important issue for me in this next upcoming cycle of elections.
Of course.
Because of the state that we're in. Like there have been times where it's been national security or the societal fabric of the country, or I think when Obama came into office, I was really excited because I'm like, okay, there's still some societal things we need to fix. Gay marriage isn't legal yet. Like that needs to happen. Let's go.
Although you remember, Obama was very against that.
He was at first, and then he changed his mind, like a true politician.
You can give people evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody had the evolution in the same period of time. Biden was against it too, and now he looks like a 64 colored crayon box just exploded on him. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like this is what these guys do, and nobody we know people in our lives. You're like, oh man, that guy's a piece of shit, right? But when you see him on TV, you're like, oh, he's great. And it's like, no, dude, that guy is just pandering. He doesn't even give a shit about you.
Yeah, and I do feel that way about so many of them. But
So,
ahead.
as far as Fetterman and economic issues,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I'm sorry.
You're
oh
good.
no, you're fine. We're having a conversation. That happens.
We're having fun.
I might need more pot.
So, here's a realization that I've come to lately: is there are certain things that the Democratic Party has historically done well, and by historically, I'll say in our lifetimes. Because if you go back before our lifetimes, the Democratic Party was the Ku Klux Klan. So, I mean, let's just keep it to modern history. And then there was historically things the Republicans have done well, and then poorly, vice versa. When it comes to economic issues, if you take a step back and you look at areas that are run by Republicans predominantly and Democrats predominantly, take out New York City, which is just a financial powerhouse.
In L.A.
And maybe probably L.A. Without fail, every Democrat-run city, state is in significantly worse economic shape than the Republican-run cities and states. Significantly.
Now, I'm not saying that that's causation, whatever that term is, means that that's true.
Well,
but if you go up, you go, who runs that one? Oh, that's an R. Who runs that one? Oh,
right.
That's a D.
And
that's all the point that we're making. It's like, if the person who's always shitting in your Cheerios is,
I'd argue that they're both historically awful. I mean,
nine out of
deregulation under Reagan hurt everyone. NAFTA under Clinton hurt everyone.
Yep. Then endless wars.
Bush decided to spend more money, bombing the Middle East than he did.
Can we just say it publicly? Both Bush and Obama were probably war criminals.
So that's the amount of wedding drone strikes that Obama engaged in.
Right, collateral damage, man.
Yeah, and that euphemistic shit kills me.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's words, it's etymology, man.
Well,
they use these words to fuck with you.
Well, and this is why, like, a huge chunk of the Middle East, they're not our fans. Why?
Yeah, they don't hate our freedom. They hate the fact that we're bombing their weddings.
Yeah, please let me get married without having to worry about you slaughtering my family, please. You're like, So
did you ever do like a 35,000 foot view and just look back and go like, oh man, you know what?
We probably shouldn't.
We're the bad guys right now.
I've been thinking that a lot lately about Russia and Ukraine. Watching what's happening there, like, Putin's terrible for what he's doing. Ukraine wasn't exactly the shining light on a hill before.
No, that
this.
Azov battalion are a bunch of fucking Nazis.
Right.
No, they're not Nazis.
But no, we like them now.
No, they're not. They're not. They're not.
Want to be.
They never were. Their grandparents didn't come from Germany. I'm just letting you know.
Are you being sarcastic?
No.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay. I was like, you're really selling
I
this.
just didn't want to get kicked off of YouTube.
But like
For telling the truth.
Like you won't find many people up until very recently that have been more pro-America than me. I love this country. I've lived in a lot of places.
I do not see an American flag lapel, so you're full of shit.
Yeah,
you haven't seen his banana hammock, man.
Yeah, I love this country. This country was designed to be a beacon of freedom and an idea for liberty, and it was a perfect idea in concept when it was created. And we've screwed it up a lot along the way. But something has happened over the past 50 or 60 years where we might have become one of the most evil empires on earth.
We don't, yeah. And there's two things about that. Number one, so the freedom to criticize America, it's just like we're West Siders.
Mhm.
Like West Side's the fucking best place in the world.
Sure.
We're allowed to shit on it,
Absolutely.
but nobody else is.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's an American value.
Right.
You know, so we can say like, okay, you know, we are that beacon of freedom and we have a framework
Right.
that is the best.
An unfulfilled framework.
Yeah. But execution, we should be able to bring up the fact that like we fuck some stuff up.
Yeah.
You know, and we have historically pretty obviously a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully we can come out of it better. I tend to be losing that hope, as you heard earlier.
That's where I think, you know, I agree with that sentiment. I mean, and I hate to say that, but I mean, you look at what we.
While you guys are chatting, I'm going to get my glaucoma medicine.
You look at what
Enjoy.
what has transpired in this country. I mean, you look at, you know, obviously slavery was obviously horrific. Like, I mean, there's no arguing that.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that's not a uniquely American sin. That was just the world's culture. And in many parts of the world, it's still the culture. So it was horrific, but it wasn't uniquely American. What we did to the Native American population, it was horrific in the way that we did it. There's a huge difference between conquering and just eliminating.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was. And we could talk about Rwanda. We could talk about, you know, everything that happened in Western Europe in the 90s. And you can talk about all these horrific things that happened. We've done it too. Even recently, like the wars in the Middle East, what we've been doing over there for decades to make people rich, oil, like, what have we become? We've become this thing of, we used to be able to talk about basic American values, and we could sit here and argue like, oh, I think that this is more important, and this is more important. Okay, well, let's focus on both, and you kind of take the lead on that one, I'll take the lead on this one, and let's fix this country. To the point of like, I listen to politicians and news organizations and social media, and it's, if you think this way, you're evil.
Yeah, the
And
immediate.
it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, the immediate demonization with people you disagree with is stupid.
Yeah.
and that's but that's part. And I guarantee you, it's over a culture wars issue.
Absolutely.
That's another reason why I find.
But culture matters.
While it does, I do think that the conflict created because of culture is a distraction from, like I said earlier, the economic.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, and like, I mean, look at like these corporations who donate to freaking anti-gay politicians, and then they have their pride flag.
Mhm.
Like, it's all fucking bullshit.
Mhm.
You know, that's the kind of thing that that frustrates me about where we're at now as a nation.
Yeah.
I think that Americans have the collective ability to do better. I just think like that fire hose of bullshit
Yeah.
from media, from social media,
Yeah.
distracts us. Because you know what, I wouldn't call myself a liberal. I wouldn't call myself a conservative. I wouldn't call myself a libertarian. I don't know what the fuck I am. But
You're going to become a libertarian the longer you're in business.
No. The reason I won't is because like 50% of what they say is brilliant, and I think 50% of it is fucking bad
You need
shit.
to listen to the comedian Dave Smith. I will send him to you. You will listen to him, and then you tell me what your thoughts are.
Okay, I will gladly do
I think
so.
he's a sharp dude. and he's a hardcore libertarian.
The problem with libertarians is most of them are batshit crazy.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I mean,
it's
I
like
think you do
really want to hang out with the people wearing like a rain boot on their head.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that guy's not like
Vermin Supreme, right?
Vermin
Supreme. I love that man.
Yeah.
He promised everyone a pony if they.
Yes, he did.
Him.
So I try to look at somebody one day. I forget what this is called, but they basically what they did was they transposed like the federal government's budget to like a household income. Do you know what I mean? Like, so your household expenses and what your revenue is and blah, blah, blah. And that really like put it into perspective for me. Right. So I try now to be like, when it comes to local stuff, what's the Mad Lib, of like the hierarchy that I can understand so I can understand how it works like locally. What if I don't understand why locally, and maybe because I'm an idiot, why it is so divisive here, and why has this been like a virus that is? So locally, it seems like a brain virus.
I think you explain what you mean by locally divisive.
Like, I know Democrats and Republicans, and it went from like you're just like it's Bob, and now it's like fuck Bob.
I haven't seen.
You know what I mean?
I was going to say I don't see that as much locally as you see it portrayed nationally.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I see it locally. And here's why we don't see it locally.
Do you think it's because we're different here?
No.
I do think that we have a loyalty we definitely have a loyalty to community and a community identity.
No, I don't think that's right.
No?
I haven't.
Go for it.
I can tell you why. Okay. I'm gonna say some people. You tell me what political party they are. President.
Democrat.
Governor.
Democrat.
State senator.
Democrat.
State rep.
Democrat.
Every single person on Scranton City Council.
Democrat.
Mayor.
Democrat.
Of course they're not going to have an issue with each other. There's nobody to have an issue with.
Oh, no. So I can just factually disagree.
Can you
they lots of these people hate
now
each
there
other.
there are two fractions within that party as well.
There's even more than that.
But we talk about how screwed we are locally, and there's a reason. Because there's no different ideas pushing back.
Well, okay. So
it would be just as bad if it was ours top to bottom.
Yeah. There's neither party is a monolith, and personality matters. Like council right now is divided 3-2. And and the minority has been bringing up great points about why are we spending money on a lobbyist? Isn't that the job of our mayor? But she used to work for him, so she gave him $4,000 a month. So.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, you didn't see that?
Was going on.
Yeah, Chris Carney was the congressman. She used to work for him, and so did Kyle Donahue, and they voted to give him $4,000 a month to do the job that the mayor should actually just do. And the two minority councilmen. So I don't think that's a Democrat or Republican issue. I just think it's
just bad leadership.
Yeah. Because I would argue, because I said they're functionally the same party, just the corporate party.
Yeah.
Republicans would give their group
$4,000
$4,000 a month consulting thing in a second. So, I don't think
they shouldn't.
No. I mean, it's just a crisis of immorality in politics. It's immorality with power, and politicians are
power corrupts absolutely.
My God, I mean, look at our mayor. Oh, PR. It's image. Yeah. Trying to get something fucking done is impossible as a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break. Working with the city is a pain in the ass.
Everyone's always said that, but why? What are some of the things that could be easier?
I don't even know where to start.
There's a huge list.
Well, I'll tell you this. So Courtright has his clear.
Are they easy fixes in your mind before you go down this road? Are they simple fixes?
I want to explain.
Okay.
So when Courtright was mayor, obviously he did terrible stuff, but you could call and get something done.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that anymore. And the thing is,
it's the
person.
What does that mean? You can call and get something done.
So hey,
but it's not a favor, is it?
No.
Okay.
DPW. I've got a pothole. They won't come. Courtright. I got a pothole. It's got to get filled. Next day filled.
He'll make a phone call and move it to the bump the list.
And that's what he's supposed to do, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That shit like that doesn't happen. I had to fight for months. The city forced me to pay a bill that I wasn't supposed to pay, and they threatened to lien one of my properties if I didn't pay it. So they extorted me. And I emailed, I called, went on one of the mayor's town halls where she promised she'd fix it. That was February. I finally got it resolved when I threatened to go to council every week until it got resolved. And because I said, I don't care about my reputation.
Right.
But I know this mayor does. If I don't get my check, I'm going to show up and I'm going to talk about this because you extorted me. and I got the check immediately.
Mhm.
Because, but that's the thing. So image matters more than what you're producing for your people. And
Isn't that crazy?
and that's not uniquely her.
I understand.
She might have made an art form out of it.
Yeah, but look, look, we always
It'll get out. It'll get out.
look, we always understand that like there is a little bit of acting that has to be done.
Yeah,
it's
and
politics.
That's politics.
I don't begrudge it, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
but get shit done. Pave my road.
Right.
Man, it is everybody. Everybody does it.
Well, and I think kind of to your point, like you said, power
they'd be
corrupts.
sick of doing it, don't you think?
Yeah, power corrupts. And it doesn't matter if you're an R or a D, if you're liberal or conservative, if you're this or you're that. A politician will say whatever they want. It's kind of like that old saying with employees. You'll do whatever you can to get them, and you'll do as little as you can to keep them.
Oof.
And that's an old saying in business. Me, I think it's the complete opposite.
It should be.
If you want to be a good business owner.
Yeah.
Politicians, the absolute, for those of you that are listening, if you want to wonder how in the world somebody is batshit crazy and as morally corrupt as Donald Trump could have won, put up somebody better than Hillary Clinton to run against him.
Yes.
That's how.
That's how.
You want to know how that happened? It's not because America is a horrible place. It's because Hillary Clinton's a horrible
and then
person.
then how many assholes in the Democratic Party blamed Bernie supporters?
Right.
Like, shut the fuck up. Get
No.
a better candidate.
Right. So when you look at Hillary, like she's like the pinnacle. She sits on top of the hill of politicians that will literally say anything to get elected. And this is what they all do, though. I mean, they all do it. What do you want me to be? What do you want me to say? I mean, I will agree with anything you want, but then once they get into office, it is, who do I have to hook up now? What donors do I have to take care of?
Yep.
What connections? What's the next step?
But does that happen locally too?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
Paige spends as much time in D.C. giving
Let's not like
speeches as
shit
she
on
does
her.
here.
Like, let's not shit on her.
we could shit
Just
on them
her.
all. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, just pull some campaign finance reports. Let's do a podcast about it.
Just that's it.
Oh, yeah.
What if we don't like that? Sounds like a fun one. We don't know.
And
I don't know what they're
feel
gonna
bad.
say.
Here's the thing: I would have felt bad shitting on her if she was making some genuine mistakes and poor decisions. But it's like she's in it for the long haul. She cares about Scranton. She's already got her eyes on the next prize. I'm shocked she's still here.
Did you see that? Did you listen to her podcast or read the transcript?
The Scranton Times one.
They asked if she would stay and finish her term, and she refused to say yes.
She's already moved on.
This term?
So we'll shit on her. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
She's gone.
So it was an open secret.
She used us like a dirty towel.
Yeah. So my
I don't
thought,
know what that means.
she either runs for Auditor General, or hopes Matt Cartwright loses and then runs for the House.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
You think
the House.
Bognet might beat him?
I think it's going to be very close.
It's going to be a brutal November.
It's going to be.
Yeah, it's if you're listening and you're a Democrat,
But why?
buckle
So
up.
this is. Do you think this is going to happen a lot? Where it's like people. What does that mean? Where people who are like dyed in the wool blue are now, because it's got to be some of them are going to be like, fuck this, I'm voting Republican.
Well, how do you think? Luzerne County used to be a blue county. Now it's
Yeah.
not. You know?
Do you think this is going to turn red?
Do I think
Lackawanna?
Lackawanna
No,
won't turn red?
no.
But do I think that the congressional district might shift? It did because of redistricting. It got redder because of redistricting.
So don't you think it's a good thing though to have diversity of representation in your government? Like when he was before saying
sure.
like everything from president down to dog catcher is
well,
Democrat
you know
around
what?
here.
Okay, so you know what? I said, yeah, sure. I don't think there's diversity and representation regardless of party. I think they all suck.
I think that they all suck, but at least they'll be willing to fight each other rather than make big backroom deals in the same.
My friend said to me once.
They make backroom deals. Like Wickman Mello was the majority leader.
Yeah.
He made deals with Republicans. They all make deals. They
I
all take care of
love-
each other.
Yeah, but do you think it's like they get along there and then they just say to us that they don't get along?
Potentially.
I'm going to say, okay, just from talking to state legislators, the answer to that is yes, for the most part. There are some batshit crazy ones,
Right.
who you can't get along with. But for the most part, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's how politics works. But the problem is that back scratching doesn't help anybody that we know.
The people. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the only solution around here is somebody who is like, listen, I will sign legal paperwork. I'm here to be the mayor of Scranton. I'm an independent. I'm not beholden to any party. I'm not taking donations from anybody other than just a citizen of Scranton.
Yeah, the reason that'll never work is because you'll go up against somebody who does have money.
I think it would
you'll
work.
lose.
I think the power of social media is bigger than any billboard.
You have more hope than me, and I do. And I love that you do, because
and I love.
I don't have any more.
I love.
So I like when other people do.
But here's the thing. Well, so you have lost hope. I've lost hope for the country. I haven't lost hope for Scranton.
Oh, I haven't lost hope for Scranton. I
So
have
for
lost
me,
hope
it's
that a
like,
good politician.
I think
will
you
come,
could
though.
definitely fix Scranton. I think it's fixable.
I agree with
I think
that.
it would take a lot of work. And digging out of a huge hole, but I think it's doable. Pennsylvania, I don't even know about Pennsylvania at this point. I mean, it's just so
Mastriano.
It's just so messed up.
I know you think his name smells like farts. I just don't.
It's an Italian last name, so it's nice. But
sometimes I just think that somebody needs to go in there just to shake the Etch-a-Sketch. That
you know
isn't
what's funny
beholden
is
to anybody.
I loathe Shapiro. So it has nothing.
He screwed everybody at the Scranton School. He screwed everybody at the
He
school
ruined-
district. He screwed everybody
at the
prison.
He ruined lives
Yeah.
for headlines.
So why not vote for why not be okay with the other guy? Like one side you haven't give. See, I explained this to my friend the other day.
I'm writing Micah in for governor.
It's a wasted vote.
No, because then I would just fire half of everybody that works for the state.
Yeah, Micah. You think Mastriano's bad? Wait till you get fucking Micah.
No. You want to know how you fix the city of Scranton? You fire half the people that work for the city of Scranton day one.
Nope.
Day one.
Nobody. They have no employee retention as it is.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard then.
The city hall doesn't have employee retention.
It's a revolving door.
What?
It's like the Biden White House.
It's.
I just wanted to say that. I don't know why I wanted to say that.
They can't get anybody to, like, Tom Preamble just.
Yeah,
quit.
he just resigned.
They can't
And
keep
I will
anybody
say,
there.
When Tom was in the Office of Economic Community Development,
Great guy.
He and I butted heads a little bit. As soon as he moved to DPW, it was a stroke of genius. Like, he was brilliant there.
He knew what he was doing. Yeah.
Brilliant. What happened?
No, she can't keep any managerial heads.
Why?
Except somebody who.
Is she micromanaging them? Like, what's going on?
Just from when she was at the school district. Yeah, she's a micromanager. Yeah.
All right, so
if I'm reading between the lines, what you are saying, Tom, is women shouldn't be in charge.
Absolutely not.
I'm somebody who hires exclusively women because I want to have a good business.
Exactly.
It's
and
not
you know
that
what?
hard for me.
The two people I trust most in this world are my mother and my wife. So, yeah. And if they told me what to do, I'd be happy to do it.
Yep. That's why they live longer. They make better decisions.
It actually often happens.
Yeah.
So,
So what can, as I pull this back, what can the district do to moving forward? Like,
frankly,
what are their options?
I mean, they're going to hate me for saying this, but what shits do I give? They should fire their head of special ed and get somebody who's competent. That would help. They need to have a directive from the superintendent to the principals to say that do your job without fear. We will back you. And then those principals need to say that to their teachers. We will back you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a principal who said, listen, if you ever do something wrong, I'm going to back you that one time because you're my teacher and we have to have a unified front.
Right.
If you ever do it again,
I don't got your back.
I'm done with you.
That's a good protocol.
So to say I'll back you even if you're wrong because we need to be unified.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. And you know what? I was super self-conscious that I would never, ever put him in that position. And nobody did because we would never want to let him down that way.
Right.
And that was good leadership on his part to even say that. So it's top down. You make sure that teachers know that you have their back. And right now, all over Facebook, because of this tragedy that just happened, people are like, well, this district is falling apart. They're suspending teachers for helping kids, and preventing fights. So of course this is going to happen if that's your culture. And so we need from the top down a complete cultural overhaul. And they have the chance to do a reset over the summer. And I hope that they do, but I don't think they're going to
reset.
Reset.
I'm worried about
who
resets.
does McTiernan answer to?
The board. The board.
So does the board need to step in and say, okay,
Yes.
Enough is enough?
Yeah.
Do they have the power to?
Yeah.
I just don't know the functional ability.
If you can get 5 votes, you can tell them what to do. So I think there's the board is definitely going to want to act. And I hope to Christ that this shit has opened their eyes. People were literally at the last board meeting saying this was about to happen.
But why were they
act.
saying that? What did they know?
They saw the fights. They saw the escalation.
Listen to what Micah said about what his kid had happened.
Like, this has been going on. This is becoming like
And
significantly, increasingly worse.
And it's
A
district-wide.
kid showed up to the school with a gun to kill someone,
Yeah.
and nothing happened.
So in a way, it's almost like you're just lucky it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how bad it is now?
There's no discipline. Like West Intermediate used to be like the intermediate to go to and work
Mhm.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their most veteran teacher just bid out to get the fuck out of there because it's a mess. And if you have
But that's all policy stuff.
yeah, you know what? If
It's
you
so
have,
amazing. Why?
if
then
you have
why-
good leadership,
But why are they putting in these terrible policies knowing that these are the results? Like the moment you start seeing this happen, why doesn't somebody go like, whoa, what made that happen? We
You know
need
the
to stop
saying.
doing that.
You know the saying: if it's not broke, don't fix it.
It's broke.
Right. But if you fix it and it's not broke, you've just created more work and more jobs and more money for people, and now it's broke.
yeah, and they're gonna blame. They're gonna say it was the pandemic and kids are messed up because of that. No, that's not why there's not discipline. Discipline is if they walk in that door and they're unfamiliar because they missed a year of school because of the pandemic, you get to set the tone. You get to teach them what it's like to be in the building.
Mhm.
And there's just a complete and total failure to set up a disciplinary standard. I'm lucky.
Did they just start taking it away?
I'll give you an example.
Because I'm like, what was the domino that fell that started taking that away?
I really think that fear of lawsuits and the lack of centralized leadership has been a problem. But I'm on the safety committee for Isaac Tripp. They, in response to the board did do something. They said, I want a committee to come up with all the recommendations to fix this disciplinary problem. So now we have a safety committee. I went to the safety committee meeting and the parents and the teachers that were there pointed out that there's no consistency of discipline. And I knew this already because my wife is in the district and because I'm friendly with a lot of teachers. But everybody knows it. And they brought these
It's like an
concerns.
open secret.
Yeah. So like in one building you can wear hooded sweatshirts. In another building you can't. And in the one building they're like, take it off. And in the other building they're like, you now get a detention. And so what building do you think has less infractions for dress code? The one where they're like, take it off, or the one where you have a detention?
Mhm.
What do you think?
The detention one.
Yeah, but very few buildings go that route.
Oh, so consequences can.
And there aren't consequences, and it's a huge problem.
Well, I feel like
What are we teaching kids that don't have consequences?
well, that's the problem. There's a lot of freedom within boundaries. Like I always used to say, like when I coached soccer, I would say, I'm steering the cruise ship. You can do whatever activity you want on the cruise ship, but I am steering. Yeah, I'm the bumper rails on the highway. You know, when you look at kids, you look at a 13, 14, year old boy. We're boys, so we get it a little bit more than we would girls. So we'll stick to boys. Anyways, you have boy parts. Their whole personality, ethos of who they are as a human being is, how far can I push this? That's why insurance policies are so much more for boys. How fast can I push this? That's what boys do. When it comes to their relationships with parents, I want all the independence. When it comes to their relationship with girls, how far can I push this? That is just how boys are wired. Teenage boys, it's just what they are. If you give an inch, they'll take a mile. And they're giving miles at Scranton High School right now. So what do you think they're taking?
They lost one of their vice principals is gone.
Yeah.
Because
At the high school?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh my God. Mitchell was moved to cover for the elementary because Wolf was promoted to HR director. So like that can't help.
Yeah.
Losing a major authority figure.
He was a good guy.
He is a good guy.
He's a good guy.
And VPs do discipline. So now let's remove him. Well, that's not going to help run the building when you remove the disciplinary figure. VPs do discipline. So now part of that team is gone. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. There's been such a weird, to go back to like you were saying, like culture. It feels like the further we've gone in culture, it's more of a do whatever makes you happy kind of attitude in culture. And it's almost like it's starting to kind of permeate the schools a little bit of like, well, I don't feel like implementing this disciplinary action today, so I'm not going to do it. As soon as you know what it's like, you have a kid. If the rule is don't touch this water bottle, and every day when your kid reaches for it, you slap their hand, and every day, stop, don't touch it. And then one day you're like, I don't have it in me. game over. It's over.
I mean,
because
my 5 and 3-year-old. I mean,
if you kept going,
all ages.
if you kept sticking with it, at 3 years old, consistent, eventually they'll be like, I'm over it. Yeah, but if they get it one time,
and they get away with it,
and then you
once,
go back to slapping, they're going to try until the day they die.
Because they're going to know that you
that
gave
it's a
one.
possibility.
You gave, you'll give again.
Yep.
How does this? I'm just still flabbergasted about how this degrades. Because at some point this wasn't a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I'll give you another thing. Like a lot of good,
I just can't.
A lot of the good principles.
I just can't go. It's lawsuits.
A lot of the good. That's a part.
That's part of it.
But like a lot of the good principles, they leave.
Yeah.
You know, like Meg Duffy, phenomenal, like leader, bailed.
She's the one who recently left, right?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, she went up to Carbondale. Nate Barrett, he was the one who took his building from worst to first in a year. In terms of test scores,
that sounds like good leadership.
Yeah, and gone.
Do you think he was a disciplinarian?
Yeah, he was consistent. Consistency is all that matters.
You don't have to be harsh. You have to be consistent.
Consistent. Right. You know, Chris Laser. You can go on and you look at the reasons that they're leaving is, you know, they don't think this district doesn't think about retention. You know, retention is it matters because you want your good experienced people to stay, and if they don't feel valued, if they're not treated well, if they don't see a path forward, they're not going to stay. You know, think about education in general. People like myself and lots of others are just bailing because the job is awful. If people don't have your back, why would you stay? Mm-hmm. If you're not valued, why would you stay? And the pandemic opened up a lot of eyes to personal value. Like, is this how I want to live? Is this how I want to be? You know,
or is this my only option?
Yeah. And so if the district doesn't do something to work to retain its good people and to train new good people, then you're going to keep having this disaster. So yeah, I'm not saying it's exclusively fear of lawsuits, but it's also like you need a principal with a set of balls who will say, this is the rule. Don't ever deviate. 100% of infractions will be treated this way. Mm-hmm. And then the student body will learn. Yeah. And I'm not saying you can't have leeway. There's the good kid who's never been in trouble for the 4 years he's been at the elementary school.
And if they screw up.
And he called a kid fat. You know, like, you don't give them 3 days out. Maybe you say you're going to just get a detention. You know, like, you can have discretion, but there still has to be...
You get in that much trouble for calling somebody fat?
If it gets labeled bullying, yeah.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I mean...
can I tell you another theory?
It's because it's different. It depends on the building.
Can I tell you another theory?
That's weird, too.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Columbine changed a lot of things in this country, and now it's become this thing that we do. I think the reason that has happened is because in the 90s, we had the anti-bullying in school campaigns. We used to be like, if he called me fat, and yeah, I've put on a few pounds, Marky, so calm down.
Jesus Christ, Mark.
I think he's projecting because I've said nothing.
But if he called me fat, I'd be like, you'll see whether or not I'm fat or this is muscle behind the bleachers after school. See you there.
See, he's talking to himself right now.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's like, that's how we just kind of used to do things. And now it's hit this point of escalation of like, yesterday.
Is bullying bad?
It used to be 2 guys got in a fight. That was done. You had a dick measuring contest and it was over.
We define bullying.
Now it's like,
or was it a rite of passage?
We define bullying culturally in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Bullying is a sustained effort.
Yeah. Like the kid who picks on the one girl every day for months.
That's bullying.
Yeah.
But anytime anyone gets told anything that makes them feel bad, it's bullying. So I think that we also probably, and this is unrelated to the disciplinary problem, but it's probably something that needs to be addressed in schools. Like, let's define bullying.
Yeah.
You know, just being mean to somebody isn't necessarily bullying.
Mm-hmm.
Telling somebody they're a piece of shit doesn't make you a bully.
Yeah.
I mean, and
might even confirm that person's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't have said it. Maybe it was inappropriate. Maybe you had a bad day and you're taking your anger out on somebody.
Maybe you should have said,
but you're not.
Do you think you're a piece of shit? I would like to affirm you in that you're a piece of shit.
I think I'm going to teach my kids that's
a good
how
way to do
bullying
it.
Should be.
That's
how bullying should be.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a piece of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go home, is that something?
Yeah. I'm not even going to tell you you're a piece of shit. Do you think you're a piece of shit?
You know, you look in the mirror and you just think,
man, that looks like a piece of shit.
Oh.
I want to be that kid.
Do your parents love you? Or
No. I don't think. No, you know what? It's because I'm a piece of shit. I need to change my life.
yeah.
See-
Well, I'll never forget. I don't remember a lot from being younger because I've been hit in the head a lot. But I distinctly remember my older cousin, Caleb, who I love to death. But I think he might have been a senior in high school and I was maybe a sophomore. And he just the one day was like, "You're obnoxious and I don't like you." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're annoying, you're whiny, and just stay away from me." And
That's probably a
literally,
come to Jesus
that
moment.
was the day that's the day I started to like, I'm going to become a man.
Yeah.
And like,
so bullying's good.
That's not bullying.
that's,
Like I said,
No. As they define it in 2022, bullying is good.
I don't know.
I think. Look,
Anyways, I want to go back to what you said earlier because I don't want this to be all doom and gloom and the world's falling apart.
Yeah, let's talk about unicorns.
You said during the pandemic, people saw their self-value and worth and changed a lot of things. And you've changed a lot of things.
Yep.
What is going on in your life? You have a lot going on.
That was a nice
lot of
segue,
exciting things
Micah.
going on.
Yeah, I
Like,
appreciate
I've been
that.
learning from the best.
You're
That-
welcome.
That is good. So
He's that guy in TikTok where you're like, what do you think about like what's happening to the people in COVID? He's like, I actually did pretty good, so I'm all right with it.
Yeah, I made a lot of money.
Yeah. I got very wealthy off of COVID.
Yeah, so yeah, I had a lot of time to think, and I decided that I was going to leave teaching after 17 years. And
Was it a hard decision?
not
How quick and easy was it?
It was the easiest.
What did your wife have to say about it?
She's
See ya.
fine with it. She would probably leave too if we could afford it,
Really?
which is
What
too
was,
bad.
what was
It'll
your
happen
moment?
soon.
What was my moment?
Because he said it was a quick decision.
Well,
Well, there's
Ju-
probably a lot of information leading up to it.
yeah. But when I realized, there was a moment I'm like, oh shit, I
I'm
think
done.
I can quit.
Yeah.
That was related to the fact that one of my businesses is doing well enough that I could quit. And what?
No, I was scratching my face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I have a real estate company that's doing really well, and I'm like, okay, and it's taking over my life, and I can't do both. And we're opening a hard cidery in Old Forge, and that has taken over my life. And I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be my boss.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that I had that opportunity, I'm like, holy shit, I don't need this anymore. And it's a lot because people are like, oh, you're leaving behind your good benefits, your good salary, and your phenomenal retirement, because there's nothing better than a teacher retirement or public pensions. And everyone's like, what are you, nuts? Everyone. And you know what? I'm happier.
Did
And
one person say do it?
my wife.
That was the only person that you talked to that was like, do it.
Did you have to walk away from Did you walk away from your retirement completely, or
No.
the
I'm
accrual?
I'm vested.
Okay.
So when I turn, I think 55, I'll
So you
I'll
get
get
the
it.
smaller portion.
Smaller, which is fine because
Yeah.
but what I'm doing will hopefully be more lucrative, but I'll be happier.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was a value that I think the pandemic helped me realize, like, you know what? This is where I value myself, and this is how I feel valued at my job, and they're not commensurate with each other. So I can become my own boss. I can run my own life, do things the way I want. Like, so in the real estate company, like I don't charge people crazy ass rents like everyone was exploiting people. I don't do that. It's West Side Homes. I get a phone call, their house gets fixed. Like I do it the way that I would want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, like you were saying, like with your business, you make sure to treat your employees right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I treat the people who work with me right. At the site, we're going to give a good salary to the brewmaster at the cidery. We're going to hire, people. We're going to give them health care. We're going to do it all because that's the value that I want to espouse. And I feel better about myself and my life that way than I would have had I continued in the profession. I loved teaching. I loved. I didn't love anything else about the job. I loved, sharing my passion for literature with the kids. I was good at it. But you have to look at what's best for yourself. And like I said, the pandemic helped me think about it a lot. And, while I'm going to miss that, I'm probably going to be too busy to even think about it.
I think Tom's going to start a cyber school
No,
or charter
Never.
school.
No.
Nope. No.
No, I think just the few times that we've talked and getting to know you a little bit over the past year or so, we know a lot about business. We know what it takes to be successful, and I think you have all of those pieces. I
appreciate that.
think you, just the way that you've spoken about how you've gone about establishing the cidery and the way that you do things and the way that you take care of your people and run your operation. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to try it.
We did we made test batches 2 weeks ago. We tested them last week. They are phenomenal. And
wait, where's the location?
So,
are you gonna have there and
there's a tasting room, and we put in a patio. You can sit there and enjoy.
Can you have a cigar there?
Outside, yeah.
Are you gonna have any kind of food option?
No.
Okay.
So our
Just
flag.
put a hot dog cart outside.
We can do that. The parking lot's large enough.
There you
So
go.
it's at 9:45. So for everyone listening, it's Electric City Ciderworks. It is in Old Forge. We went with the regional name. So Electric City Ciderworks. It's at 945 South Main in Old Forge.
Yep.
Which is right before the river. It's actually my dad's recording studio building. It was an old firehouse that he converted.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a huge garage attached to it, and that's where the cidery is. We put the garage area we made into the brewing area,
Right.
and then we put in a tap room, and then we put in a patio out back.
Awesome.
Wait, what are you opening?
So our soft open is July 3rd because
That's my birthday.
happy birthday in advance.
Every time I try to type birthday on my phone, it says birthday. I told you
That's
that before,
definitely
right?
that's my fault.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Yeah. So we're doing the soft open, and it's interesting because I've never done it before. So I'm like, I want to test it out, see that I know what I'm doing, go from there, and then we'll do our social media presence and tell people to come on down.
Awesome.
I'm pumped. It's a great feeling. The LCB gave us their approval just today. Just this
So
morning.
are you gonna have things other than cider, or are you gonna have what are your offerings?
So we're gonna have our flavors of cider. So here's
What are your flavors?
So here's what's cool about it. All of our cider is local and organic.
I love cider.
And everything that we put in it is also organic. So it's Brace's Orchard is where we get our cider from, and then we ferment it and do our stuff. But we don't. A lot of these people they hyper process. We don't do any of that.
Yeah.
So it's extra dry. The flagship is extra dry.
Yeah.
It's 6.8%. You would never know. That's why I don't want anybody staying and drinking all day.
Mhm.
Because it'll get past you real quick. But we have that. We'll have an apple ginger, which is excellent. Blueberry ginger, my wife's favorite. And my favorite is a black cherry cider. Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's a cider? Is it like apple juice?
So
It's hard cider.
It's a hard cider. It's almost
It
like
does not taste like apple juice.
No, it
like-
tastes
Is it
like
like when you get
it
cider
tastes
from
like
like the farm and then you
It's
you let
that,
it
but
ferment?
fermented.
It's like a
Yes.
light beer that has an apple taste to it, but it's almost more crisp and refreshing. Apple juice almost kind of has like a heavy, syrupy, thick.
Yeah.
This is it's kind of a breakfast beer in my opinion.
You could certainly have it for breakfast.
Well, I used to go watch soccer games down at the Irish Wolf on Saturdays. We'd be there at 7 a.m. drinking hard cider, watching soccer games.
Yeah, this is good. It has like almost a champagne-y consistency
Yeah.
to it.
Very bright and bubbly.
Yeah, it's good.
Any advice to the Scranton School District before we get out of here?
Oh my God. That would take me another podcast.
Life's hard. It's harder if you're stupid.
That's for sure.
I just think
I want to see them with these safety committees, which are a positive. I want to see that continued, and I want to see the reforms and suggestions followed. If you follow what the parents and teachers are saying, things will go better. But it takes the board and the superintendent and central administration. They have to listen. That's my advice. Listen.
I might think it requires somebody like one of us to go to the next school board meeting and have a little come to Jesus talk with them.
I would guarantee you that there are going to be people.
yeah, no
It's gonna
we're
be-
not gonna be alone.
I will be at the next one because enough is enough.
Yeah. Amen.
Like
Yeah, my wife went to the last one.
like a kid died.
Yep.
A kid died because you people want to play politics with kids' lives. Enough is enough.
Time to act.
All right. Well, on that note, I
Go
guess-
have some cider. Feel better about life.
What's it? What's it, Electric City Cider? Or
Electric City Ciderworks.
Dude, I'm pumped.
It's
So
be-
you're having a soft opening on the
It's
3rd?
better in cider.
something? I love it.
That's not going to be that's not it.
Can you please
That's
do
definitely
that?
not it. I'm
Can
not
you
going to.
please?
Nope. How about get excited?
I
Oh,
like
I
the
like
first
that.
one. I like the first one.
I'm not,
Can you make it a sticker at least?
I will definitely make it a sticker for you.
All right.
It's better in cider.
It's true. Tom, I've always loved you because you were fucking fearless and you were honest. So
I
I
like you
appreciate
so
that.
much better now that you quit though, and you're like, fuck these guys.
Yeah. Hey, it's a very exciting and liberating feeling.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Amen.
all right. Well, hopefully things will be cleared up by next week. So what a week.
All right. What a week. We'll see you guys.